Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay. Welcome to the Battle for Azeroth beta and the second pass for the Guardian Druid. In this video, I'll go over any talent adjustments, spells and abilities lost and gained, anything kept from your Legion artifacts or legendaries, new graphics, a brief overview of the War Mode talent system, and any GCD changes. There'll be no true gameplay in this series, so consider this more of a one-man podcast walkthrough of what your spec is going from in Legion to Battle for Azeroth. The bear, there's a lot of stuff, but not a lot of things. The entire second pass testing VOD is located on my Twitch channel. Link in the description box down below if you'd like to see all the nitty-gritty that we get into and the discussions we had therein. And finally, if you have any questions, concerns, or feedback about the spec, please feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you'd like to subscribe right here on the YouTube channel to keep up to date with all the second pass testing I still have yet to come and everything in the future, please feel free to do so. And the bell beside the actual subscription button is the real sub button now because YouTube. But overall, Guardian Druid has seen adjustments and changes and fixes, and it might see more iteration in the future. But right now, Guardian Druid is just Guardian Druid from live without your artifact. Which sounds pretty terrible, and it kind of is, unfortunately. It is probably the weakest I've felt playing any tank, and is the flattest tank so far. The word I use when I describe a spec that just feels like it plays, but there's nothing that's really happening with it, is flat. So I don't have a graphic to bring up your talent calculator because you look at the talent calculator right here, it's the exact same thing as you have on live except one talent. Now, there were a ton of bugs, like a page and a half of bugs when I first tested this back in alpha. You can go check that video out if you'd like. Many of them have been fixed, but I have, let's see my notes here. I still have almost 3/4 of a page of things. The biggest chunk is like a huge paragraph we have on here about the loss of Rage of the Sleeper and Legion, the big exterior. There's no like DPS tanky cooldown for bears. So you lost Berserk back in the day, right? So nothing's really happened since then. So it just feels kind of flat. And we'll hopefully see, hopefully something. But anyway, let's go over a few changes. You'll also notice that if you're following the other series, the target dummies have moved, which is nice. There was a comment about how the videos are very dark, but Borealis rains a lot. So it will just happen that some of these videos may be a little darker than the Zuldazar ones because you're in like a lit area. But as I was sitting here prepping to record this video, it stopped raining. So there we go. But if I don't go over something very specifically in this video, as I keep mixing my words, just imagine it's the same as it is in the first pass. So essentially everything else you're going to see here is the same. Your mastery is still Nature's Guardian. This has been separated in the combat log, however, so we can actually take damage here and then get healed from outside sources. Where's the tanking dummy? This one over here. It's going to mess me up something fierce. I just know it. So when you take damage now, and you see the Ysera's Gift is healing me there. Ysera's Gift still bugged. And if I go over and put the regrowth hot on myself and go back into bear form, it should show what happened to me. Yeah, Nature's Guardian, that small percentage extra healing, it's all split apart now, which I told was new. Before, it just added healing to whatever healed you, but now you can actually track it. Yeah, see, it's color-coded in as well. Nature's Guardian healed you 4, and that's your mastery. Nature's Guardian is your mastery. So, small tweaks. Other small tweaks, I mean, Thick Hide, still there. Again, Ysera's Gift is 1.5% max health every 5, but it's actually healing for 3% still. I've reported it both times I've done bear testing. And Gore is the same baseline. However, when we talk about Rage real quick, there is a pretty big Rage change. So, bears now generate 4 Rage per auto attack, down from 6. Mangle will generate 8 rage per use, up from 5. I can get Mangle on the tooltip here. So Mangle is now 8, up from 5. Thrash, because that's all you really hit as a bear druid, am I right? Thrash is now 5 rage, up from 4. And you will generate 3 rage per second while in combat, while taking damage with a 1-second internal cooldown. So if I get into combat here and not attack, I'm not gaining any rage, not taking damage. Pretty simple there. But if I start taking damage, 3, 3, 3, 3. So they've changed, sort of normalized a bit of how you gain rage as the Bear Druid, which is a pretty overreaching thing. But to spend your rage, you just have Iron Fur and Frenzied Regen and Maul. So Iron Fur has had a huge change. They did clean up the tooltip in this last build. So it has a 0.5 global instead of just having no global at all. 45 rage. Still has this weird, like, spinning circle red orb thing that just clips into the bear and doesn't even last the full duration. But it just increases your armor flatly for 7 seconds, which is up from 6 on live before traits, right? But the math behind this, we reverse engineered it. It used to be 110% of your agility. However, now it is 70% of your agility, roughly. There's some, like, 9 integers behind a decimal point that are there for the scaling. But while they try to hone in on the amount of agility to armor conversion on Iron Fur, and a lot of the tank changes are all very armor-based, this is what it is now. So it's agility equals multiplicative armor as a percentage. So keep that in mind. That's how just that scales. We had to backwards check that. Let me double check to make sure. Yes, that is correct. And then Frenzied Regen. This is a bit of a nerf across the board to non-bears. So you have 2 charges as a bear druid. You have 1 charge if you're not. If you take Guardian Affinity. It's 25% of your max health over 5 seconds. Max of 2 charges with a cooldown is reduced by haste. It's 36 seconds before haste. So this does not stack with your healing received from Nature's Guardian. But this does also now mean that the stamina scaling that Bear Form has, which is the full scaling, which is 55% stamina, and the additional health you get from Nature's Guardian, puts Frenzied Regen as a very baseline, reliable heal, but does no longer has that crazy weird snapshot window you have on live. So good and bad change, because it hurts Resto Druids to go into bear form that can survive anything, right? That being said as well, only Guardian Druids get 55% stamina. If you're not a Guardian Druid with Guardian Affinity, though, a cat, a bear, a cat, a tree, or a chicken, you get 25% stamina. Same armor, though. So they have cut that down for other Druid specs. Barkskin goes back to a 90-second cooldown. And Stampeding Roar is the same for both cats and bears. Bears have a PvP talent that will interact with this, but Stampeding Roar is the same for both cats and bears. You have Hibernate has returned. This does take you out of bear form, however, which is kind of weird. And Rebirth for all druids is now 100% health, 20% mana. If you're a bear, it's instant, costs 30 rage, though. If you're not a bear, it has a cast time, and for the casters, I do believe for cats, we'll go over the cat version. I think it costs a little bit of energy to cast it, but that is the Rebirth change. So cast times or 30 rage. Not a lot of rage, but if you're not taking damage, takes a couple globals to build that up. That was a gore proc there, at least, though. But rage generation, when you're not taking damage, obviously going to be pretty okay. When you are taking damage, of course, it'll fly up rather quickly. But Maul is still here. They're trying to make it work. It is a ton of damage, but it's 45 rage, same as Iron Fur. Used a lot if you're tanking, say, a caster mob, so you don't have to actually use Iron Fur, or if you're off tanking, so you can burn rage, so you can actually do some extra damage. But Maul is what it is. There's no other synergies with it. It just kind of exists. But everything else will be the same as you have on live. I have Resto Affinity again, talented right here, so don't worry about the heals you're seeing, because those obviously are only because of this. But again, this is still busted. But overall, that's the Bear Druid's major changes, is the Rage generation, Rebirth, Hibernate, Iron Fur, Frenzied Regen. The one other one is the dash change. So tank mobility is always a question. You have Wild Charge and Tiger Dash now. Tiger Dash is a super version of Dash. So Dash is a 2-minute cooldown now, down from 3 minutes. But now it's only a 60% speed amp for 10 seconds, down from 70 at 15 seconds. Tiger Dash, however, is a 45-second cooldown that replaces Dash, activates Cat form. It's 200% movement speed that gradually decays over 4 seconds. And before I show off the image I have, sort of the burst of speed you get and then it tapers off, there was a question that was brought up during stream about, well, what's the difference between it and Wild Charge? So obviously, you don't need to have to be in Tiger Dash the entire time. If you're gonna run across the room real quickly, you need like the second and a half to 2 seconds of that less than a minute long cooldown. But we did a test to see the difference between the Wild Charge Bear Form Charge, because it's 25 yards, versus how far you actually go with Tiger Dash. So let me grab this image here quick for you. The blue square raid marker to the blue target dummy marker is a Wild Charge. The red to orange markers are a Tiger Dash from activating it to when it ends. So it's just about double the overall distance in 4 seconds versus the only 5 to 25 yard Wild Charge that needs a target, however. So just to put that in perspective, to give you a bit of a visual on how far Tiger Dash takes you in 4 seconds, we did that test for you. So depends on what you need. Obviously, Wild Charge has a whole bunch of extra things associated with it, but from a pure mobility standpoint, that is there. However, Intimidating Roar on the same category here has been fixed / updated to work properly. So it updates your AoE interrupt, right? So Incapacitating Roar is the baseline one, which is just that 10-yard, 3-second interrupt. It's an incapacitate, so it breaks on damage. Intimidating Roar is a 3-second cowering, disorienting fear. This, however, on live, if you attack your target that you roar, they instantly get broken. But now, that doesn't happen. So you have essentially a rather short 30-second cooldown AoE stun as a bear that works properly. So this is your anti-mobility, this is your multi-form mobility, and this is your holy crap, get across the room, pick up those ads right now mobility. So that's what this tier looks like now. Everything else across your tiers is the same. Galactic Guardian saw a 2% chance nerf on the chance to proc the free Moonfire. And Lunar Beam, I believe, has seen a huge attack power coefficient amp on the heal. But Lunar Beam is still just Lunar Beam. It just, yeah. So that's all it does, right? It's like basically an 8-second long dot and a hot. But the healing it does is quite strong now, I guess I was told. And of course it works with Nature's Guardian, works with your mastery. So it's just kind of there. Rend and Tear, still 2% per application. Obviously no pants though, so you can't have 5 stacks of Thrash, only 3. Pulverize is still the 9%, takes off 2 stacks of Thrash. Kind of that extra DPS button that just feels good to use. So I don't know where Lunar Beam is going to be in the rotation anywhere, but these 3 talents, normally it's Rend and Tear for AoE and then Pulverize for pure single target. Lunar Beam is just kind of, they want you to use it, so they buff the crap out of the heal, but exactly. Guardian of Elune actually works now. This was a bug that I reported back in alpha, so the Frenzied Regen, 20% amp after you mangle, or the 2 seconds of additional Iron Fur after you mangle, that all works now. Survival of the Fittest, still super strong, but again, because Barkskin's cooldown went back up, a little weaker, because you're not taking 33% off of a 60-second cooldown, but a 90-second cooldown now. But not a huge deal. Obviously, you're still going to get a 60-second cooldown now with it, and you're going to get the additional recharge time off of your SI charges. And then Earth Warden is still there and really strong against auto-attacking type bosses encounters, but it's just very boring. So a lot of the things that happen with Bear Druid is that a lot of this stuff just feels kind of boring. Incarnation is still your only major cooldown baseline. However, it still has no animation or anything yet. You get like the yellow poofy P cloud and you rear up, but nothing happens. They haven't put back in the armor yet. They haven't made you actually even roar or have any sound effect. Nothing yet. I've reported it both times. Hopefully they'll get something. All the incarnations are like this, unfortunately, which is just really weird. But everything else for the kit is still there. I said balance affinity was also cut down by 2 yards, so it's 3 yards additionally if you're not actually a caster. Feral and Bears both have only 3+ yards. Feral affinity, however, this is an interesting one. With the change to how auto attacks work, if you liked cat weaving as a Bear Druid, as a tank, the auto attack formulas now on how much damage comes from being a DPS spec. The Feral Affinity change may really bring back cat weaving when you're off tanking. So you're in bear form when you're tanking and you go to cat when you're not. Because right now I was told as well that to do damage as a Bear Druid, you actually go and use balance affinity and like dump all your charges and nuke for most damage, which just seems kind of, it's fine, I guess, but it's weird. So Feral Affinity cat weaving could very much be a thing. Blood Frenzy is still super boring. Bristling Fur is still super good. The rage generation on Bristling Fur is quite ridiculous. When you're taking damage, it's just a lot of rage during Bristling Fur. It is quite good. And then, of course, Brambles is fun. AoE tanking, all that kind of good stuff. Gets an extra charge of Iron Fur up there. So you can live quite a long time solo as a bear, but they're just kind of boring. Which is just the case of what Bear Druids are like without anything from your artifact. Let's do one of those. All right, let's not die in the recording video. All the other things have animations and stuff, and you know that's what Barkskin looks like, and you have SI and Ranged Regen. But we'll see if they fix Guardian of Ursoc's animation, though. Other than that, a little quick update on the GCD changes for the spec. You have Bristling Fur is on the global, so again, Bristling Fur is on, Iron Fur and SI are off. Iron Fur has its own global, that 0.5 seconds, however. So that's why I had to bring that up a little earlier. It has its global cooldown, but it's only its own global cooldown. Oh, that's not a good idea. Don't do that. So just to get the rage back up again to see what the actual toggle looks like when it happens. Yeah, it's its own 0.5. That's it. You also got Frenzy Regen is on. Tiger Dash or Dash is on, and then Incarnation is on as well. Even though, because again, it doesn't do anything, it looks funny when you hit something and all of a sudden you get this little underneath you. That's it though. Alrighty, war mode stuff. So it was definitely pointed out to me that when I was doing bear testing that all of the talents that are in the war mode selection are obviously almost all the same ones you have on live. And that's fine. The way that war mode works that you pick and choose your build now. So you get to pick a Relentless, Gladiator's Medallion, and Adaptation. But then you get 3 of whatever you'd like. So any of your bear talents you have on live, you just pick any 3. So Roaring Speed reduces the cooldown of Stampeding Roar by 60 seconds. Maloran Swiftness gives you the super travel form. In Battleground or Arenas, you get 20% more speed. Everywhere else, you'll just never be able to be reduced below 100% movement speed. Alpha Challenge is the replaces Growl. It's the super taunt that makes the target that you taunt take additional damage for 6 seconds. And if you keep auto-attacking the target, the debuff stays on there. And then up to 5 people total, you plus 4, makes the damage amp go to 15%. Protector of the Pack has 20% of all damage done to nearby allies. Remember, nearby means 8 yards. Is redirected to the bear, and it's automatically disabled if you fall below 35% health. Overrun is the additional bear charge. So going back over, you can have Wild Charge or Tiger Dash, or you can do Wild Charge and Dash, and you have Skull Bash, and you can take Overrun. which is the charge plus stun on the target plus the knockback if they're within 15 yards of the target you charge or overrun to. Entangling Claws is the root from bear form, the 6-second cooldown root, 10-yard range. You have Charging Bash, which is 10 more yards on Skull Bash. Sharpened Claws is Maul, will increase the damage done by your swipe and thrash for 6 seconds. Raging Frenzy. Your Frenzied Regen also generates 60 rage over 5. Clan Defender. This makes you have, when nearby allies within 15 yards are critically hit by any attack, Gore procs. Demoralizing Roar, which was a baseline before, which is now made a PvP talent, which people kind of had a about, is a better version of the demo Shout from Prot Warrior, where you demoralize all enemies within 10 yards, reducing the damage they do flatly by 20% for 8 seconds on a 30-second cooldown. Dead Mother is the 15-yard nearby allies get a bolster in their HP by 15%. Toughness is the stun duration effects reduced, and then Master Shapeshifter, which is only for Guardian, is the Resto Balance and Feral Affinities. Going back on the whole cat weaving thing, Feral Affinity giving you 30% flat damage amp is very good because of how much damage cat form will do now because of the auto attack scaling change. Moonkin form gives you that haste when you switch into Moonkin form. Remember, if you're not a caster, Moonkin form has a cooldown. And Resto Affinity gives you the extra healing and the cast time reduction for regrowth after you Swift Mend. So you can put together a build now that is quite different than you do on live, due to the fact that on live, you only pick like one of each of those 6 tiers. Now you just pick whatever 3 you want. So do you want to have a crazy extra charge and the additional cooldown reduction on your AoE Stampeding Roar and the challenge? You can pick any of these, right? And a lot of these that were really neat competed with each other on live, but now they're all pick whatever ones you want. So that's how the war mode system works. When you have activated war mode, when you're in Stormwind or Orgrimmar, 15% more additional XP from killing monsters and doing quests. You also get more rewards from doing world quests, and you get more honor from killing the opposite faction. If you have a 10 kill streak, you become an assassin for that faction, doing 15% more damage and healing until you die. So that's in the open world. So that's anywhere else in the world that isn't a hub. If I was actually in the hub city over here, where it was flagged as the not contested area, the current area I'm in right now is contested, because it's like a questing zone, a lot of this stuff. Same thing in the Horde city. Then it wouldn't work. But everywhere else in the open world, the war mode stuff all turns on. But Bear Druid is Bear Druid. If you like Bear Druid, you're going to still like this, and some of the fixes feel good. But my overall ending thoughts was that there's no baseline tank or DPS cooldown anymore. It feels strange. No Berserk, no Rage of the Sleeper. You're almost forced to take Incarnation, it feels like, to have anything. Because Galactic Guardian and Soul of the Forest obviously are like damage-oriented talents. But having no cooldown for damage when you could use Incarnation and or Rage of the Sleeper on live just feels like there's something missing. And Galactic Guardian also is only going to be really good on lots of AoE, because unless you have lots of targets that you're doing damage to, the 5% is going to be noticeable, down from 7%. And then Soul of the Forest is just more rage, which the rage changes feel nice. Soul of the Forest feels good. But that's it. That's Bear Druid. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the Guardian Druid. Unfortunately, I can't test any of the transmog changes right now. It's sort of an end cap. We don't know how you're going to be able to get back to your other bear forms, because you can't transmog fist weapons the same way you could, because the fist weapons on live right now are like that one that turns into the 2, that those are tied to your forms. All that transmog stuff right now isn't sorted yet. But again, thank you very much for watching and listening to my ramblings on the Guardian Druid second pass. If you're new to the channel or returning, check out the subscribe button down over there to keep up to date with all the testing I have yet to come. And of course, hit that bell by subscribe. That's the real subscribe button. Or if you want to check out my live stream, link down below in the description box. That is where I do all the testing, all of the rating and charity streams coming up, and events with viewers, and a whole bunch of stuff leading up to the launch of Battle for Azeroth. And of course, if you want to help me test and bounce things off of me when it's happening, please feel free to go do so. Again, linked in the description box down below. I will see you all in the next Battle for Azeroth second pass beta testing ramblings.